had to realize that I was worth loving, loving, loving. I had to realize that I was worth loving, loving, loving.
Hello, and welcome back to another question and answer episode of the Worth Loving podcast. I am your host, Keana W. Mitchell, and I am so happy that you're here with me today. Before we get into your questions, we are going to just take a moment to settle into our bodies. So wherever you are, whether you're driving, walking, cooking, or resting, just pause for a breath, inhale deeply, and exhale slowly. Let your shoulders soften, let your mind settle. This is your space, a space where your questions matter, your healing matters, and your voice is always welcome. Every Thursday, we dedicate this entire episode to answering the questions you send in. The honest, vulnerable, sometimes messy questions about relationships, attachment, emotional safety, boundaries, and the patterns that keep us showing up, or the patterns that keep showing up in our lives. And guys, I want to let you know, you don't always have to ask questions about the podcast topic. You can ask any question that you're thinking about. I mean, if you have some from the episode or the podcast episode from yesterday or the day before, then fine, go ahead and ask. But if you want to ask me any question, or you have questions from the episode from last week or from a couple of weeks ago, it is perfectly fine. Any question is good. This is the time we answer questions, not just from the episode of the podcast, but any questions you may have. These episodes are here to remind you that you're not alone in your experiences. So many people are navigating the same emotional terrain, even if they don't talk about it out loud. So today's question and answer is deeply connected to this week's episode, where we talked about why people find themselves repeatedly drawn to toxic or emotionally unavailable partners. Your questions this week were thoughtful, brave, and incredibly relatable. And as always, I will answer them through a trauma-informed lens, gently, compassionately, and without judgment. So, let's do that. But first, let's just talk a little bit about what we talked about this week on the podcast. So this week we talked about why we keep attracting toxic partners and how to break the cycle. We explored the idea that we don't choose partners based on what's healthy, and that we choose partners based on what feels familiar. And for many of us, being something that's familiar to us has been shaped by our early childhood experiences, that we don't always feel safe, or that may not have been safe, that may not have been consistent, or emotionally nurturing. So if that was the case, you can see why it might be easy for us to choose partners based on what we experienced as a child, and how it could turn out that they could be unavailable or toxic. We talked about attachment theory and how our earliest relationships create internal templates for love. So if you grew up around emotionally distant, unpredictable people, or inconsistency, your nervous system may interpret these dynamics as normal, even if they're painful. We also explored how intensity, the highs and lows, the emotional roller coasters, can feel like love when emotional intimacy feels unfamiliar or uncomfortable. Another key point from the episode was the role of the nervous system. When your body is used to chaos, calm can feel foreign. So when you're used to chasing love, consistency can feel boring. And when you have never experienced secure attachment, then you may not recognize it when it shows up. So this is why it's very important for us to know what healthy relationships are and look like, so that when we see green flags, we will absolutely know what they are. Just understanding these patterns is the first step toward healing. And your questions this week show just how deeply this topic resonates. So, without further ado, let's move into today's question. Question number 1. Why do I feel more attracted to people who are emotionally unavailable? This is such a good question, and it's such a common experience. A lot of people experience this, and it just makes perfect sense because it has a lot to do with attachment. So when emotional unavailability is familiar, whether it's from childhood, past relationships, or trauma, our nervous system can interpret this as home, as a place of comfort, as something familiar, right? So it's not that you want unavailable partners. It's just that your body recognizes the pattern. Emotional unavailability can activate old wounds, and our nervous system responds to that activation as connection. So you may meet someone who's emotionally unavailable, and you might think that you guys have a connection because our nervous system is responding to the activation of old wounds and thinking of it as connection. So in order to stop doing this, we have to heal. Healing can help us rewire that pattern so that emotional availability becomes the new normal. One of the best ways to do this is to look up and write down healthy relationships, green flags, look up what healthy relationships consist of, what green flags are to look for in healthy relationships, and study those so that when you begin to see those signs in partners and in relationships, you'll recognize, okay, this may feel unfamiliar, but this is safe. And a lot of times, when you are in a healthy relationship, especially if you have been in unhealthy relationships, it's going to feel unfamiliar. It might feel nervous. It might make you anxious. It might make you uncomfortable, right? But that's only because your body's not used to being in healthy relationships. And so the unhealthy patterns, the red flags may seem more comfortable. But what I want to encourage you to do is lean into the green flags, lean into healthy relationships, lean into being uncomfortable in healthy relationships. And this can definitely be something that helps you change the dynamic. But the answer to the question about why you feel attracted to people who are emotionally unavailable is because it could just be that that is what you are familiar with, and your nervous system is thinking of this as like home, a place of comfort, what I'm used to, something like that, okay? So it's just about your nervous system thinking about this as being a place that is familiar. Question number 2. How do I tell the difference between chemistry and trauma bonding? Love it, love it, love it. That is an amazing question. So here's the answer to that one. Chemistry is neutral, steady, and grounded. Trauma bonding is intense, inconsistent, and often confusing. One way to tell the difference is by noticing how your body feels. Chemistry feels warm, open, and safe. That's very important. It feels warm, open, and safe. Trauma bonding feels like anxiety mixed with longing. Dr. Patrick Carnes described trauma bonding as a cycle of highs and lows. So it could feel like you're in a roller coaster, right? Affection followed by withdrawal, ups and downs. And that can create emotional addiction. So it's important to remember that healthy connections don't require you to chase or prove your worth. So this is how you can tell the difference. If your relationship feels neutral, steady, and grounded, that could mean that there's chemistry. If it feels intense, inconsistent, and often confusing, that could be a sign of trauma bonding. Question 3. What steps can I take to repeat? What steps can I take to stop repeating the same relationship patterns? That's a good one too. I like it. I think the answer to that, and that's for anything that we want to change, is just awareness, right? Awareness is the first step. From there, after we become aware, it's slowing down the pace of relationships. This is powerful because it can give you time to observe patterns instead of getting swept up in intensity. So just strengthening your boundaries, practicing self-compassion, and staying connected to your emotional needs, this can help you stop repeating those patterns. Like I said earlier, leaning into discomfort of green flags, healing your attachment wounds through therapy, coaching, or inner work. All of these things can help you make different choices and to choose differently to help you to stop repeating those same relational patterns. Question number 4. Why do healthy partners feel boring or uninteresting to me? That is an amazing question. So the easy answer is just like, when chaos or inconsistency has been your emotional baseline, calm can feel unfamiliar. Your nervous system may interpret peace as boring, simply because it doesn't match the emotional intensity that you're used to. But as you heal, your body will begin to recognize safety as exciting, not dull. Healthy love becomes something you crave instead of avoid. So that's the reason why your body just doesn't recognize it as being exciting, because your body's used to chaos. And so when we are used to chaotic relationships, healthy relationships can seem boring just because of how easy and predictable they are, right? But once we change how we think and once we begin to heal, then we will begin to crave these healthy relationships. And healthy partners will stop feeling boring to you, but they will feel like somebody you want to be with, someone you want to talk with. So there'll be healthy relationships and healthy love will become something you're going to crave and not avoid. Okay, question 5. How do I rebuild trust with myself after choosing toxic partners for so long? That's an amazing question. Like, rebuilding self trust starts with compassion. It all starts with self compassion, you know? You have to make choices based on what tools and awareness you have at the time. So, when we look at the tools and awareness that we may have had when we were choosing toxic partners, we have to understand that we did the best that we could do with the tools and the awareness that we had. So, we didn't have these tools to make better choices and decisions. The decisions we made in that time is the best we could do at that time. So I think understanding that can give you compassion and realize that you can trust yourself and you did the best with what you had. Now that you're learning something new, I would say begin by keeping small promises to yourself, honoring your boundaries, and listening to your intuition. Self trust grows through consistent, gentle actions. So you don't need to rebuild trust in yourself overnight, but I also encourage you not to criticize yourself or beat up on yourself. I don't want you to tell yourself self talk like, oh, well, I always choose bad partners, or, well, the guys I choose are never really good. I don't want you to tell yourself that. Remember, you did the best you could with the tools and the awareness that you had, okay? Now that we have more tools in our toolbox, we have more awareness, you're not going to repeat the same patterns, okay? It's all about rebuilding trust in yourself overnight and being compassionate and kind to yourself. You are going to rebuild trust through small, steady steps that show your inner self, hey, I'm here now, I'm listening. And that's how you're going to be able to rebuild trust in yourself. Question 6. How do I set boundaries without feeling guilty or mean? I love this. Guys, guilt is normal when you're not used to having boundaries, right? We may feel like, oh, because I set a boundary, I'm now being mean. People should have access to me 24/7. I should be at everyone's availability to do whatever they want to do, right? So guilt is normal because that's what we're taught. We're taught that, women in particular, we need to be the caregivers. We need to take care of everyone. We need to care about people's emotions. And, we are sensitive to that. So sometimes we take on a role of trying to do that for everyone. And we don't set boundaries, which leaves us feeling drained or in bad toxic relationships, right? So guilt is totally normal to have in the situations. But boundaries are not punishments. We have to remember they are an expression of self-worth. So you can set boundaries with kindness and clarity. For example, maybe say something like, I care about you and I need some space to process. Or, I'm not available for that, but here's what I can do. Boundaries protect your emotional well being and help you to stay connected to yourself. So, it's very, very important to practice boundary setting. So, one way you can do this so that you can stop the guilt, pick a small boundary you want to do for this week and set a boundary and go with it for the whole week. That is the way we can begin to get ourselves comfortable with setting boundaries without us feeling guilty or feeling like we're being mean. Remember, boundaries are an expression of self-worth. So that's really important to remember, okay? Question 7. What if I'm afraid I'll never find a healthy partner? That is real, and I appreciate that question. That fear is really real. And it often comes from past experiences that taught you love is unsafe or unpredictable. But healing changes who you're drawn to and who you allow into your life. As you grow, your relationship grows with you. You're not behind. You're not too late. You're just becoming ready for the love that you deserve. And I want you, if you can, to start working on that fear because the things we tell ourselves are the things that we do. So what I would like for you to do right now is to get affirmations that let you know, I will find a healthy partner. I deserve a relationship that feels safe. I deserve a partner that I can trust. Begin those healthy affirmations and say them to yourself. So for you, I would just encourage you to pick maybe, let's go with 3, okay? 3 affirmations that are healthy that refers to a healthy partner. An example could be, I will find a healthy partner. I deserve to be with a partner who respects my boundaries. I deserve to be with a partner who, whatever it is you're feeling. Or you can say something like, I love myself and I will find a healthy partner or something like that. But come up with like some healthy affirmations. Like what do you think? if you can think about you know what, here's an idea. I just thought of it right now. Think about your fears, right? Think about, I will not find a healthy partner. That could be a fear, right? So you could change that and tell yourself, I will find a healthy partner. If you're thinking, I won't find a partner who loves me and respect my boundaries, you can just change it to, I will find a partner who loves me and respect my boundaries. So whatever your fears are, I want you to say them in the affirmative, in the positive. Change them. And that could be your three affirmative your three healthy affirmations for the week regarding healthy partners. And each week you continue to add so that whenever those thoughts come into your mind, like, oh, you're never going to find a healthy partner, you can like have your own rebuttal with, I will find a healthy partner. Or when you're afraid, like, no one's ever going to love me, your rebuttal, I will find someone who loves me. I will find a healthy partner. I deserve a healthy partner. I am enough. So just begin telling yourself these affirmations. And the more you tell yourself you deserve better and you believe that you deserve better, then you are changing your mindset and you're rewiring what you think and what you're going to be looking for, because now instead of saying you are afraid you'll never find one, you know you're going to find one, and you're telling yourself this, so you'll start being on the lookout for green flags so that you will find a healthy partner. Okay, question 8. How do I stop ignoring red flags when I really like someone? Okay, so the answer to this one is just like, slow down. When you move slowly, you give yourself space to see patterns clearly. So stay connected to your body. If something feels off, I want you to pay attention. Because a lot of times, and this is not just you, this is me as well, right? Something may feel off. We may not pay attention to it, or we may say things like, well, maybe this person is feeling this way or this person is feeling that way, and we'll focus more about what the other person needs instead of what we need, right? But I think if we start to focus on what we're feeling and what we need, then we can understand ourselves, right? Because here's the thing, two things can be true at once. A person could be going through something, but it's also true that your feelings that something's really off with this person, something's not right about this person, can be true. So they can be going something, but can be going through something, and it can also be true that something's not right about this person and I need to pay attention to it. So just understanding two things can be true at once, and we do not have to minimize our intuition, ignore our intuition, or try to dismiss our intuition is important. So talk to trusted friends or a therapist, and remember that liking someone doesn't mean you have to abandon yourself, okay? That is important. And give yourself permission to walk away when you do see these red flags. You don't have to stay. Give yourself permission to walk away with the knowledge that you will be in a healthy relationship, okay? Question 9. Can attachment style actually change? Yes, that's a good question. And the question to that is also yes. Attachment styles can change. Attachment styles are not fixed, okay? They are not fixed. And they can definitely be corrected through therapy, coaching, healthy relationships, and intentional healing. So people can move towards secure attachment just by healing. You're not stuck with the patterns that you learn. We can always change. And that's the thing I love about life, right? As long as we are alive, we can always change. We do not have to stay stuck in patterns. We do not have to continually have toxic partners or unavailable partners, right? We can have healthy relationships, and it comes by knowing what healthy relationships are, knowing where we are, right? Knowing what our attachment styles are, what our triggers are, knowing where we are, being aware of what's going on with us so that we can heal and look for those green flags that we talked about in yesterday's episode of the podcast. All right, so guys, before we close, I want to remind you that every Thursday we will release a brand new question and answer episode, and I would love to answer your questions on the show. And here's the thing, you do not have to give me questions from the show from the day before, okay? You don't have to do that. You can give me questions from previous shows or what you're thinking, or just any question you want to ask about relationships, and I will definitely answer them. These questions are important for us to answer because I just feel like the more we talk about it, then the more aware we are, and the more easily it will be for us on our healing journey. These episodes are built around your real, honest experiences, so the things you're navigating quietly or the things you want to share publicly, the patterns you're trying to break, the boundaries you're learning to set, and the emotional clarity that you're working toward. So, if you have a question about relationships, attachment, emotional safety, communication, boundaries, or anything connected to your healing journey, relationships, or love, you can send it directly to Keana W Mitchell at gmail.com. And that is KeanaWmitchell at gmail.com. So let me do that again because I think I missed the L in my name. So you can send it to Keana W Mitchell at gmail.com. Or if I'm spelling it out, it would be KeanaWmitchell at gmail.com. And I also put this in the show notes so you can just click on the link there and send me your email. You can share as much or as little as you want. If you send me an anonymous question, that's fine. Or you can send me a question with your name on it. Now, if it's something you do not want read on this episode or the air on an episode of a podcast, I want you to put that in the email. Please do not read on air, and make sure I have your email address so I can just respond to you privately, okay? I'm fine with doing that as well. This is a safe, judgment-free space, and your questions might be the ones someone else desperately needs to hear. Your voice matters here, your story matters, and your healing matters. So when you send in your questions, you're not just helping yourself, you are helping an entire community of people who are walking through similar experiences. So if something has been on your heart, or if you've been wrestling with a pattern you don't fully understand, I would love to hear from you and work together on answering your questions so that you can move one more step closer toward healing. All right, well, guys, thank you so much for being here with me today. Thank you for asking such thoughtful questions and for doing the courageous work of healing. Every question you send in is a reminder that you're paying attention to your patterns and that you're seeking clarity and that you're committed to choosing healthy relationships that honor your worth. Healing isn't about perfection, which is good, right? It's about awareness, compassion, and small, steady shifts. That's what it is about, okay? It's about learning to trust yourself again, learning to recognize emotional safety, and learning to choose patterns and partners who meet you with consistency, respect, and care. You are not defined by your past partners, okay? You are not stuck. You are growing, you are evolving, and becoming someone who chooses love that feels steady, mutual, and emotionally safe. You are someone who's choosing healthy relationships. So as you move through the rest of your week, I hope you carry this reminder with you. You deserve relationships that feel like home. Not the kind of home you survived, but the kind of home you're building now. A home rooted in peace, clarity, and emotional safety. All right, well, thank you so much for spending time with me again this week. I absolutely love the time that we spend together. And so until next Thursday, I hope that you have an amazing day and an awesome weekend. Bye-bye.
I had to realize that I was worth loving, loving, loving. I had to realize